B&B spoilers. Rich Forrester can't let Taylor go. This week on The Bold and the Beautiful, the Forrester gang will gather around their ridiculously fancy tables to carve the turkey. Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, is spending the holiday single, but we all know she's not lonely and has her eye on a local restaurant owner. Is her ex going to come crawling back when he realizes she is moving on? Here's what's coming up next on Bold and the Beautiful. Spoilers down below. Taylor Hayes is moving on. Deacon Sharp, Sean Cannon, and Taylor Hayes' chemistry is undeniable. The Il Giardino owner is trying to work things out with his wife, Sheila Carter, Kimberlyn Brown, but we all see the writings on the wall. If Deacon and Taylor don't hit the sheet soon, viewers at home will be shocked. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers hint it won't be long before Taylor's family begins to notice that she's glowing and clearly crushing on somebody. When Rich realizes that Taylor is really moving on, although with someone else's husband, will he start having second thoughts about marrying Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang? It's obvious that Ridge doesn't want to be with Taylor and commit to her, but he also doesn't want her to move on with anyone else either. When Ridge dumped Taylor, he expected it to debilitate her. The fact that his ex could care less that he married her rival and seems to be thinking about someone else will definitely be a blow to the designer's ego. Ridge and Deacon have bumped heads before. Rich Forrester isn't exactly a fan of Deacon Sharp, Sean Cannon. They can stand to be in the same room as each other. But a few decades ago, the two men were fighting over Brooke. Will Ridge's animosity grow when he learns that Deacon is sleeping with another one of his exes? In Deacon's defense, there aren't a whole lot single women in Los Angeles that Ridge hasn't been married to. Do you think Ridge will start to have second thoughts? Will he start hanging around his ex again when he realizes she is hanging out with someone else? The California sun was setting, bleeding streaks of burnt orange and violent purple across the vast windows of the Forrester Creations CEO office. Inside, the light did nothing to warm the air between Ridge Forrester and his current wife, Brooke Logan. Brooke, radiant even in her exhaustion, held up a sketch of a flowing chiffon gown, shimmering with subtle Logan flair. The bridge line is almost ready, Logan. It's magnificent. It truly symbolizes our history, our destiny. Ridge, seated behind the massive mahogany desk, didn't look up from the pencil he was tapping against a leather swatch. The sharp, repetitive sound was driving Brooke to distraction. "Ridge? Are you even listening?" she asked, her voice laced with the familiar edge of insecurity that always surfaced when he withdrew. He sighed, dropping the pencil with a clatter. "Of course, Logan. It's beautiful. Everything you touch turns to gold." He stood and walked toward the window, his back to her, running a hand across his trademark sculpted hair. "I'm just tired. The numbers on the Q4 line are tight." "The numbers are fine. We had a great quarter," Brooke countered, her eyes narrowing. She knew the Q4 numbers were a smokescreen. She knew the real number Ridge was calculating was the score between her and Taylor. "You've been distant, Ridge, ever since the board meeting. When you look at me, your eyes are here, but your mind is somewhere else. And I think I know where." Ridge turned, his expression carefully neutral. "Brooke, stop. This is exhausting. I chose you. We are married. Taylor and I are co-parenting, and that's all. We're finally out of the triangle, and I won't let you drag us back into it." "I'm not dragging anything, Ridge. But you haven't been home for 2 nights. You said you were at the beach house working, but I checked the security logs. You weren't there." A flicker of panic crossed his face. "I stayed at the design studio. It was a late night. Brooke, I didn't want to wake you." Brooke stepped closer, her tone softening, becoming almost a plea. "Please, Ridge, tell me the truth. Because if you're thinking about Taylor again, if you still can't let her go, I need to know now, before our destiny becomes another casualty of your indecision." Ridge looked at the woman he had married 8 times. Her passion, her fire, her unconditional love. It was a tempest he always returned to, yet a tempest that always left him feeling shipwrecked. He couldn't face her, not yet. He leaned in, kissed her forehead, a fatherly, brotherly gesture that felt hollow, and said, "I love you, Logan. I'll see you at home later. I just need to square up this line before I can truly relax." Brooke watched him walk out, his denial hanging in the air like perfume. She clutched the chiffon sketch to her chest, a tremor running through her hand. Ridge was lying, and she knew exactly who he was lying for, across town in the elegant, sun-drenched living room of Steffi and Finn's home overlooking the Pacific. Taylor Hayes was attempting to project an image of serene independence. She was working on her latest book manuscript, focusing on healthy boundaries and moving past toxic relationships. A supreme irony, considering her life's work. Steffi burst in, phone in hand, looking like a whirlwind of expensive fashion and righteous fury. "Mom, are you okay? I just got off the phone with Thomas. He said Dad was asking him about a trip he and you took to Big Bear years ago. A trip you took before his last wedding to Brooke." Taylor closed her laptop with a decisive snap. "Steffi, I'm fine. Your father and I have children and grandchildren. We have a history that spans 30 years. We talk about shared memories. It means nothing. It means everything, Mom. Ridge is never just looking back for nostalgia. He's looking back for an escape," Steffi insisted, pacing the room. "He's suffocating in that destiny of his, and he keeps running to you. Not for conversation, but for solace. He needs the stability you provide, the real family unit you represent." Taylor rose, her therapist voice kicking in. "I have worked too hard, Steffi, to separate myself from that emotional tug-of-war. I am not his refuge. I am not his second choice. I told him when he left me for Brooke this last time that I was finished. I will not stand by and wait for the latest bridge explosion to hand me the pieces. But don't you see? That's exactly why he can't let you go. You are the only person who sets boundaries with him," Steffi argued passionately. "He needs to feel the pushback. Brooke just accepts the waffling as the price of her destiny. You demand more. You demand the truth." A buzz from Taylor's phone interrupted the escalating drama. It was a text from Ridge. "I need to see you. Now. The Cliff House patio. It can't wait." Taylor's breath hitched. She looked at Steffi, her practiced composure crumbling slightly. "It's him. He wants to meet." "Don't go, Mom. Make him come to you when he's ready to commit, not when he needs emotional rescue from Brooke's drama." "I have to go," Taylor whispered, grabbing her cashmere wrap. "I need to end this once and for all. If he's reaching out like this, it's not for a casual chat. It's for a reckoning." The air at the Cliff House was cold and thick with the scent of salt and eucalyptus. The full moon was a spotlight on the crashing white foam below, painting the patio floor in silver and deep shadows. Ridge was already there, leaning heavily on the stone railing, his designer jacket pulled tight around him, looking less like a fashion mogul and more like a lost boy. "Thank you for coming, Taylor," Ridge said, his voice rougher than usual. He didn't look at her as she approached, her heels clicking softly on the stone tiles. "You said it couldn't wait, Ridge. I'm not playing this game anymore. If you came here to talk about the latest tension with Brooke, I'm leaving." Ridge finally turned, his eyes red, a sheen of unshed tears making them dangerously bright. "It's not about tension, Taylor. It's about truth. It's about the lie I've been living." He pushed off the railing and moved closer, his hands gesturing wildly. "When I'm with Brooke, it's like a drug. It's the adrenaline, the fire, the drama. It's familiar. It's what I grew up believing was love because Stephanie always fought against it. It's the constant challenge. It's destiny." He shook his head, a single, sharp laugh escaping him. "But when I was with you, it was quiet. It was peace. It was sitting on this patio, watching the sunset with our kids, talking about life and science, not just fashion and betrayal. I could finally breathe." Taylor crossed her arms, trying to shield herself from the blow she knew was coming. "So why did you leave me, Ridge? Why did you keep going back to the chaos if you truly valued the peace? Ridge took a step back, the moonlight illuminating his shame. The truth, Taylor? The shocking, ugly truth? I left you because I was afraid of the quiet. I was afraid that without the chaos, without the fights, without the drama, I was afraid that our life would be boring. Taylor gasped, the sound sharp and painful. The revelation was more devastating than any affair. Boring? You destroyed our family, our engagement, my faith in myself, because you found peace boring. Yes, I know, it's monstrous, he cried out, his voice cracking. I mistook excitement for love and stability for apathy. I craved the volatility of bridge because that was the only way I knew how to feel alive. And I did that to you, the most incredible, grounded, honorable woman I have ever known. He stepped toward her, his face a mask of pleading anguish. I went back to Brooke, and I thought the flame would reignite, that the destiny would feel real. But it hasn't. I'm numb, Taylor. I go through the motions, designing, running the company, making love, calling her Logan, and every moment I think of the serenity I threw away for a manufactured crisis. He reached for her hands, but Taylor pulled away. No, Ridge. Don't. I won't be your emotional lifeboat. You don't get to come back here, tear open old wounds, and expect me to mend your fractured soul just because your destiny line is having a slow quarter. It's not a request, Taylor, it's a realization. I can't let you go. The time for waffling is over. I see it now. Brooke is my habit, but you are my home. You are the one I should have chosen years ago, the one I will choose now for good. Ridge took a deep, trembling breath, his voice dropping to a desperate conviction. I'm ending it. With Brooke. Tonight. I'll tell her that the only destiny I believe in is the one I create with you, Steffi, and Thomas. I'm done with the roller coaster. I want the quiet. I want the peace. I want you, Taylor. Taylor's heart pounded against her ribs. Years of guarded resentment warred with a sudden, dizzying wave of hope. She saw the genuine pain in his eyes, the kind of pain that finally looked real, not just dramatic. And Brooke? What about your great destiny, Ridge? What will you tell her after all the promises? I'll tell her the truth, that the fight is over and I finally lost. Not to her, but to myself. I lost the courage to choose the right thing years ago, and now I'm finally reclaiming it. He reached out again, his fingers brushing the silk of her scarf. Taylor, tell me you'll let me try. Tell me I haven't destroyed everything. Taylor stared into the depths of his eyes, seeing the man she loved, but also the man who had hurt her more than anyone else. She was about to speak, to give him a conditional, hesitant yes, a typical B&B mistake, when she heard the unmistakable sound of a car engine cutting out, followed by a car door slamming shut. Ridge, Taylor whispered, her eyes wide with dread. Someone's here. A moment later, a figure appeared, silhouetted in the patio doorway, framed against the warm interior lights of the Cliff House. It was Brooke. Her face, usually so expressive, was frozen in shock, her eyes fixed on the man she loved standing inches away from the woman she despised. Brooke's voice, though barely a rasp, cut through the night air like shattered glass. Ridge, what are you doing here? With her. The wind whipped the waves against the rocks below, masking the sound of Ridge's imminent, shattering confession. The triangle had just violently reset. He reached for her hands, but Taylor pulled away. No, Ridge. Don't. I won't be your emotional lifeboat. You don't get to come back here, tear open old wounds, and expect me to mend your fractured soul just because your destiny line is having a slow quarter. It's not a request, Taylor, it's a realization. I can't let you go. The time for waffling is over. I see it now. Brooke is my habit, but you are my home. You are the one I should have chosen years ago, the one I will choose now for good. Ridge took a deep, trembling breath, his voice dropping to a desperate conviction. I'm ending it. With Brooke. Tonight. I'll tell her that the only destiny I believe in is the one I create with you, Steffi and Thomas. I'm done with the roller coaster. I want the quiet. I want the peace. I want you, Taylor. Taylor's heart pounded against her ribs. Years of guarded resentment warred with a sudden, dizzying wave of hope. She saw the genuine pain in his eyes, the kind of pain that finally looked real, not just dramatic. And Brooke? What about your great destiny, Ridge? What will you tell her after all the promises? I'll tell her the truth, that the fight is over and I finally lost. Not to her, but to myself. I lost the... Taylor stared into the depths of his eyes, seeing the man she loved, but also the man who had hurt her more than anyone else. She was about to speak, to give him a conditional, hesitant yes, a typical B&B mistake, when she heard the unmistakable sound of a car engine cutting out, followed by a car door slamming shut. "Ridge," Taylor whispered, her eyes wide with dread. "Someone's here." A moment later, a figure appeared, silhouetted in the patio doorway, framed against the warm interior lights of the Cliff House. It was Brooke. Her face, usually so expressive, was frozen in shock, her eyes fixed on the man she loved standing inches away from the woman she despised. Brooke's voice, though barely a rasp, cut through the night air like shattered glass. "Ridge, what are you doing here? With her?" The wind whipped the waves against the rocks below, masking the sound of Ridge's imminent, shattering confession. The triangle had just violently the Forrester reset. Creations executive office was thick with the scent of high-end fabrics and low-grade tension, a familiar blend in the chaotic world of the Los Angeles fashion dynasty. Ridge Forrester stood by the enormous window, his back to the room, pretending to admire the skyline. His true focus was the woman sitting calmly on the sofa, her hands folded neatly in her lap, facing Brooke and himself. Dr. Taylor Hayes, world-renowned psychiatrist, mother, grandmother, and, until recently, the perpetual second choice in Ridge's life, was home, but something was profoundly different. She was wearing a crisp, tailored suit in a vibrant azure blue, a color that made her eyes sparkle with a clarity Ridge hadn't seen in years. There was a peaceful finality in her posture that unnerved him more than any outburst of anger ever could. Brooke, ever the vigilant sentinel of her marriage, leaned against Ridge's desk, her arms crossed. "Taylor, you asked for this meeting. Steffi and Thomas are on their way. Is everything all right? You sound unusually resolved." Taylor offered a small, knowing smile. "Brooke, Ridge, thank you for meeting me. And yes, I am resolved. I called the children because this news concerns them most, but I wanted the two of you to hear it from me first. It's about the future. My future." Ridge finally turned, his brow furrowed with familiar impatience. "Taylor, what is it? Are you trying to leave LA again? If this is about Brooke and me, we've been through this 1,000 times. We can work it out. We can be a family for the kids." Taylor's laughter was soft, almost musical, and it stopped Ridge mid-sentence. "You always say we can work it out, Ridge, but the we you're talking about is a triangulation, an endless loop that always forces me back to the same painful realization. It's over, Ridge. The drama, the waiting, the constant cycle, it's finally over." Just then, the double doors flew open. Steffi and Thomas rushed in, their faces alight with concern and curiosity. They stopped short, sensing the heavy atmosphere. "Mom, what's wrong?" Steffi asked, rushing to Taylor's side. "Nothing is wrong, my darling," Taylor assured her, squeezing her hand. "Everything is right." Chapter 2, The Bombshell Announcement. Taylor waited until her children were seated, her gaze sweeping over the assembled family. Ridge, the man she had loved for decades, stood rigidly, radiating an assumption of control. Brooke, her eternal rival, watched with a mixture of suspicion and grudging respect. Steffi and Thomas waited with bated breath. "I'm moving," Taylor stated, her voice steady and clear. "Permanently." Ridge scoffed instantly. "Moving where?" Malibu? A larger house in the valley? Taylor, you know you can't take the grandkids away from the family. I'm moving to Geneva, Switzerland, Taylor corrected him gently. And I'm not taking the grandchildren anywhere. I'm starting a new life, a new chapter that takes me away from the gravitational pull of Los Angeles and all the history it holds. Brooke's arms dropped, a look of genuine shock replacing her skepticism. Geneva? Taylor, that's half a world away. It is, Taylor confirmed. But that's not the shocking news. The shocking news is why. She took a deep breath, and her eyes found Ridge's, a final, intense look that held decades of shared history, joy, and profound disappointment. I've accepted a position as the Director of Global Mental Health Initiatives for the Alastair Foundation, a major nonprofit based in Geneva. It's a huge opportunity, an incredible platform for my work. It's what I've spent my entire life training for. Thomas was the first to speak, a slow smile spreading across his face. Mom, that's amazing. Director? Wow. You deserve that. Steffi nodded rapidly. But what about L.A.? What about the design firm, the children? Taylor's expression softened. You are all adults, Steffi. You, Thomas, Finn, Kelly, Hayes, you'll come to me. Geneva is beautiful. I will be hosting you all the time. But this isn't just about a job. It's about Alastair. Ridge, who had been silent, stunned by the sheer scale of the news, finally erupted. Alastair? Who the hell is Alastair? Is this some rebound guy, Taylor? Are you trying to make me jealous? Because if you are, it's not going to work. Taylor shook her head, pity flickering in her eyes. Alastair is Dr. Alastair Vaughn. He's a former neurosurgeon who now runs the foundation. We've been collaborating quietly on a global telemedicine project for the last 6 months, and we're getting married in 2 weeks. The silence that followed was absolute. Brooke gasped, Steffi covered her mouth, and Ridge looked as if he had been struck by a bolt of lightning. Married? Ridge whispered, the word sounding alien on his tongue. You can't be married in 2 weeks. That's absurd. Who is this man? You've only known him for 6 months. I've known you for 30 years, Ridge, Taylor countered, her voice now edged with steel. And in that time, I've learned that the length of the acquaintance is irrelevant if the foundation is flawed. Alastair doesn't need me to choose him over another woman. He simply chooses me every single day. He doesn't hold me in reserve. He partners with me. He sees the doctor, the professional, and the woman, not just the mother of his children who might fill a gap if his other option fails. Brooke's voice, surprisingly, broke the tension. Taylor, are you happy? Taylor looked at Brooke, not with rivalry, but with genuine sisterhood. I am, Brooke. Genuinely, deeply happy. I've finally realized that true love isn't about fighting for crumbs at the table. It's about building your own table. Chapter 3. The Shattered Illusion. Ridge was reeling. He felt the familiar, uncomfortable prickle of possessiveness, an entitlement born of decades of triangulation. Taylor was his. She was always supposed to be there, an anchor point in his life, the beautiful, intelligent counterpoint to Brooke's fiery passion. Taylor, you're making a mistake, Ridge insisted, stepping toward her. You are making an impulsive decision because you're hurt. I told you I needed time to sort things out after the last wedding disaster. We were always meant to be Tridge. Thomas stood up, blocking his father's path. Dad, stop. You don't get to do this. You walked away. You chose Mom. Then you backed out. Then you went back to Brooke. You had your chance, dozens of them. Now it's her turn. Steffi nodded, her eyes shining with tears of pride. She's right, Dad. Mom deserves someone who doesn't need a scorecard to know who they love. Dr. Vaughn flew in a few weeks ago to meet Finn and me. He's kind, respectful, and he adores her. He sees her worth. Ridge's face flushed. The realization that his daughter was actively endorsing another man to marry her mother was devastating. He met you? And you kept this from me? We didn't keep it from you, Ridge, Taylor intervened softly. I kept it private. I didn't want this incredible new phase of my life tainted by the Forrester-Logan drama. I needed to know what it felt like to fall in love with a man who wasn't constantly looking over my shoulder to see if Brooke was walking into the room. Brooke stepped forward, placing a hand on Ridge's arm, a gesture that was usually protective but now felt oddly restraining. Ridge, you need to hear her. She's finally prioritizing herself, Taylor. That is the most professional and sane decision you've ever made.